Can I call the regular meeting of council to order for Tuesday, April 7th? Take approval of the agenda, please. Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That the April 7th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. All in favor? Carried. Take adoption of the minutes for March 10th, 2026 budget council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Julik.
That the March 10th, 2026 budget council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder,
I can't second.
Councillor Hoffman. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Recommendation for the March 16th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes. Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That the March 16th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. March 30th, 2026 special council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Julik.
That the March 30th, 2026 special council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. March 31st, 2026 budget council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Julik.
That the March 31st, 2026 budget council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. 3.2, the March 16th regular council meeting minutes. I found a mistake in the library board budget. I understand we've requested more information from the library for actuals, but I'd like to request the library to make this correction as well. I'm not sure if I need a motion or not.
I put a motion forward for staff to connect with the library. The board.
Okay. So a motion for staff to connect with the library in regards to grant-specific programs as an operating expense. There needs to be a revenue there to balance it somehow.
Okay, so that would be the library board, if we could just add the board part. Take a seconder on the recommendation. Councillor Julik, discussion. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick clarification. So under the operating expenses, it has grant-specific programs for $66,000 under 2025, but there's no revenue to go along with that. So it's in error.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, I just want to confirm that you got the motion. Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any other business arising from the minutes? And just to clarify for Councillor Bertrand that yes, on the delegation from the Tumbler Ridge Public Library was to ask to have them submit the actuals to staff so they can get them in front of council before budget. Anything else? Ms. Scott, anything from staff side?
No.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to delegations. Tumbler Ridge Mountain Bike Association, Curtis Miedzinski, President, intends to present to council updates from the club and the projects for 2026. Go on up to the delegation table, Curtis. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for letting us have the opportunity to talk about our projects for this year. So, first of all, we have two projects going on this year. Phase 2 of our Ridge project. Quite exciting. We raised $812,000. We're not going to utilize all of that money for this phase in Phase 2, but we are going to look to expand. So pretty exciting. Sorry I didn't have an interactive map. We do have a online web browser to view the map and where the trails are going to go. I didn't realize that I had to have them in last week, so sorry about that. So I do have a paper copy here, but sorry about that. The trail network that we're going to work on is going to be just left of where our first phase was. So we have an up track and 2 downs currently. We're going to expand to have another up track. so that we can have a whole nother section we can come up to, and then they can link on either side. So there'll be a connector trail above and below the 2/3 of the mountain, so. And then we're gonna have a bigger scope of difficulty of trails. So we're gonna have a couple of black trails and another blue downhill trail. So gravity fed, machine built. So yeah, and we've already got cost estimates in. We've gotten our expression of interest sent out, and that closed. And we do have a builder selected as well. So very exciting. They've already came and actually walked the ground as well, so they know what they're getting themselves into. Put in a very accurate bid. We even showcased the prices that we had estimated for our build costs in the past. And they came below that, which was quite nice because we allowed all of the builders within the province and in Alberta the opportunity to bid. So we had 23 companies that we could choose from to build. And they are rec sites and trails preferred trail builders, so they are on the list. So very exciting. Yeah. Oh, and Katina's on my board, so she's late. She can come sit. I like her to speak as well, so I'm not just the only one talking.
6 o'clock.
Oh, it's all good. So on the page 3, we go past the Ridge project. We have a fun little thing here. It's the naming of the haircut styles. So originally the bald spot was the hiking trail up, so we thought that was like a name of like a bald spot on somebody's head. So we continued that theme with the trails. So buzz cut, mullet, rat tail that are currently there. And we will go ahead with naming the rest of the trails. So we got ideas and stuff like that. And hopefully the idea is to, if you want to submit one, you'd have to be a member of the club, which is a reasonably priced membership for the year. So adults are $30, youth are $25, and a family is $60 for a membership for the year. And that just helps with grant writing, funding, just to show our numbers, right? So that is that. Did you want to speak on the bike bus a little bit? Because that's going to be our second project for this year.
Did we talk about the grant writers and all of that?
Actually, yeah, let's talk about the grant writers. Yeah, you do that first.
We met actually as a board, was it yesterday?
Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday evening, and we just, the board really wanted to express our appreciation to the grant writers that are, work with the district as well as all of the nonprofit organizations. I know that we have received a lot of funding because of the grant writers to support the growing work that we have underway, and just really wanted to express our appreciation to those folks. I know that, you know, when we reach out, they make time, and they're pretty amazing to work with over the last little bit. The amount we've raised, so is this, yeah. So the amount we've raised from grants has been $812,000. And we're really looking forward to phase 2 of the work. I know that we are currently in discussion with some amazing companies that work across the province that have built both in the north and in the interior. And so as a board, we met and went through all of the applicants the other day, and we have some exciting, probably news coming up here soon. And yeah, I know Curtis can probably speak more to it, but.
So out of the 812,000 that we're able to acquire, the project is about half of that for phase 2, which is quite a substantial amount of trails, so it's 6 trails. So, but with the grant writer, they've been looking not just regionally, they've been looking in the states as well for grants for us, and so they're looking everywhere. So it's huge. Like we don't have to, every year, have to re-explain what our objectives are. They know our plans, they know our master plan, they know exactly what we want to accomplish. And so they have all of our documentation in our Google Drive, so they can access it and use our previous applications as references to new or existing funders. So right now, like, we don't keep going after, say, the community forest every year, right? We don't want to do that. So we do, you know, strategically every 3 or 4 years, or depending on how much we were looking to request, right? So they know that, they're very mindful of that, and so they're not continuously asking and trying to go after the same funds. But they did actually go after Athletic Brewing Company. This is a funny story because they are out of the States and they have a funding stream, and it's quite strenuous, and we were denied the application because they had so many applicants from all over. And so this was last fall. Our grant writers resubmitted out and said, hey, would you reconsider? And just in circumstances of what had happened within our community. And Athletic Brewing Company said, yeah, we will donate $10,000. So just the reapplication of a reconsider. So if we do get denied, they're trying to figure out why we got denied. They're asking the questions, they're doing the follow-ups. And it sure helps our volunteer time. And it cuts it down quite a bit, because if it's a full-time job, it's 100% a full-time job what they've been doing for us. And to do one project for us and bring this kind of money in is astronomical. It should be a full-time job, to be honest. You know, I'm not too sure what they get paid, but it's definitely benefited us a lot. So I want to say thank you to Mayor and Council and staff for having this available for us. So that's why we're here, to be very appreciative of that. Okay. And then, so enough about the bike stuff. You guys can ask questions later about that if you'd like. We have a fun thing for the kids in the community. We want to do a bike bus. So it's going to be a group ride to and from school, generally to school in the morning. So it's going to be a safe alternative to getting to school with chaperones to ride your bikes to school. And then there'll be strategic routes, so you can pick up the kids in groups or wherever within areas of town, and then ride to school safely. And it's just something different, something fun, just to get active, mobile, and get people out on bikes. It's part of one of our strategies we want to do, is try to get the community more involved in biking, and the youth is the #1 priority for us, so, yeah.
Yeah, and then just on that note, we have some conversations coming up with the school district to help support this, and so we're looking forward to having those conversations with the team there. Some of the program goals are a free helmet program, so for children who don't have access, as we know, equipment can be quite expensive. Bike repair and safety check program. I know we have some handy folks on the board that are good at maintenance. Bike bus ambassador program, so having folks that are familiar with riding can support that. We have route expansion program and bike safety and skills education, and then weather ready ride program.
Any questions on either of the 2 projects that we have on the go?
All right, well, thank you very much for your delegation. Appreciate you coming in and giving council an update in regards to your downhill second stage plans. And then obviously, I think the bike in the school is going to be, the bike bus is going to be a pretty cool thing. Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Curtis and Katina, for coming in and presenting. It's great to hear successes, and the Mountain Bike Association has been one of those organizations that is continually adding to our community and being incredibly successful. You know, definitely punching above your weight class in terms of getting grants, bringing things to our community, and I really appreciate all the work that you've been doing. So I had some questions about the bike bus. It's a really exciting thing. And it sounds like you're going to have chaperones. Has there been any discussions with the RCMP about maybe just giving them a heads up this is coming along? Because I can foresee if you get like 30 kids out there on a bike bus, that might be a challenge. Maybe worthwhile to have a little bit of police escort. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I think some of the law enforcement would be willing to be around. They definitely do their loops in the morning and stuff like that. We can definitely talk to them a bit more about that. And I believe Jane has reached out as well on that, because they might want to come for a pedal as well.
Follow-up.
That's it. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Councillor Julik?
I just want to say thank you, because I've never been to the bald spot until you guys had your little trail up there, because I was like, absolutely not. And some person told me it was not that bad the rest of the climb. They were lying. So I have used it in that respect, I just have a little basket bike. But wanted to say I really appreciate that, and like kudos to you guys and the grant writers. Like, holy moly, that's a big chunk of change, and I'm really grateful that you were able to access those funds, because what you're doing in the community is bang on. And can I buy a membership from Troy, or do I need to do it direct from you guys?
Currently, the Trora memberships is an all-encompassing membership, so it's $199.99, and it covers all user groups. And if you want to do a TRMBA one, you can go to the TRMBA, or Tumbler Mountain Bike.
Okay, just go to your
email.
website?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, or the everything's
email.
on there, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and the Facebook page, so it's e-transfer, it's probably the easiest, or in person, yeah.
so a big thank you, not just for me being able to walk, but
When I first moved to town, someone had told me the bald spot was the easiest hike. So I tried it. It was not fun. Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions from council? I have a couple. Are you willing to share the start date for your project of stage 2 and your possible completion date?
Yep, so May 1st is the tentative start date, so, and this is contingent with Rec Sites and Trails approval, of course. So they have the KML files, we have to go through them. We are looking at having possibly a project manager for the scope of the project, just to take a little bit of the ease off of the volunteers, and then they can oversee this project going through. So May 1st, they would hopefully come up, depending on snow conditions and stuff like that, and start flagging out, and then Rec Sites and Trails can do a site visit, make sure everything is in line with the KML files, and then they can start building right away. So, and it's gonna be with our prospective builder here that, with their proposal, it would be a 17-week project. And it was quite nice going with only one builder. We had the opportunity to have multiple builders depending on their skill type and set, but then you're paying for mobilization, demobilization, accommodations and finding accommodations and stuff like that. So with a single crew throughout the season, we might not get it done right away, but at least we'll have something completed hopefully at the end of the season, and it'll be ready to go. And the exciting thing is, in their contract, they would like to come back and fix any deficiencies. So if there's water pooling, or one of the berms sloughs out, or something deteriorates unexpectedly, or culverts aren't working or whatever, they're coming back for 2 days per trail. So something kind of different that a lot of proposals you don't see with like the after effect of maintenance. So, and that's our number one priority, is we don't want to go with necessarily the cheapest builder. We want these to last a long time, and that it doesn't have the burnout of the volunteers going up and having to fix the trails, all the time. Like deadfall is probably our nemesis right now of clearing trails from down trees, because they can be quite dangerous. So,
Okay. Does it affect the operation of your stage 1 trails?
no, that's why we went a little bit further over. So all of the current trails will be rideable for sure.
Okay. And then up to the bike bus, you talked about meeting and gathering in groups to school. What about return from school? Is that a plan too, that it's not just to school, it's going to be from return back,
I believe
to wherever
so,
the
yeah,
location is?
Yeah, I think it all depends with after-school care, and we'd have to have a checklist before, like, going to school and home, so we have to have all that confirmed with the parents. So there'll be a little bit of work on that side of it, and making sure, like, some kids are coming, because we don't want to be doing the bike bus at 6 PM, right? So it'd be kind of right after school, so.
Yep. Okay, thanks for that. I think both projects that you're working on, the bike bus, I think it's phenomenal. I seen the ads on that when it first idea came and you guys were starting to already advertise it. I think it's great for our children of the community for sure and the youth that want to participate. Can't wait for the first bike bus to be coming down. And, I agree with Councillor Norbury that, I think we give the RCMP a heads up and emergency service, just so they're aware of it. You could end up with a fairly large group, and I think it might help just for, crossing wherever you may be needing to cross it on Mackenzie. There could be some participation with the RCMP and the other emergency services within the community. But I think it's great. I think you're trying to figure that out on the regards to return with after-school care and such, and I think that's important. And then your stage 2 of your downhill mountain bike trails, good on you guys. To be able to raise that much funds using the grant writer, I mean, I think that's, I'll be honest, I think that's why not only does the district support the grant writers, but obviously we support it through the NDIT grant option. And I think it's huge, not just for not-for-profits, but even for other organizations that they're assisting within the community. And I honestly believe last year that they actually ran out of budget dollars and had to stop writing grants at a certain time. And I think we should be looking for information from staff. What did that look like last year? Because maybe we need to increase it from our backside because maybe we're not funding it enough where they can do a whole year of grant writing. Instead, it depends on how much hours they put in is what they're allowed to do for how many months they work as a grant writer for Tumbler. So I appreciate all the great comments. Wish you nothing but success. And if you need anything, reach out and tell us.
Appreciate it. Thank you for supporting TMBA with the pump track, the land for that, the jump trail, the land for that. So it's not just TMBA, it's also the district and Tumbler Ridge. So we're putting ourselves on the map. So that's all in part of you guys as well. So not just us. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much for coming in.
I'm sorry for being late again.
Okay. Send the bill. Moving on to BC Rural Health Network, Paul Adams, Executive Director in attendance, I'm assuming by Zoom, to provide an overview of their work and purpose. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Your Worship and honourable members of Council. I am Paul Adams. I'm the Executive Director with the BC Rural Health Network, and I just want to start with our deepest condolences to the community, to Tumbler Ridge, to all of the people who have been impacted within your community, and how the impact is certainly not just happening there, that the ripples of that tragedy in all of the communities that I work with on a daily basis. And you've all done an outstanding job in standing up and putting a face to Tumbler Ridge and providing a really cohesive, beautiful, just the whole sense of community coming together has been remarkable. And you have a lot of admiration from all over BC, from all of the small rural communities that I work with on a daily basis. And our hearts are there with you all. So we're very sorry for everything that has happened. So I'm here today not to use the tragedy in any way, shape or form, other than to say that in all of the communities I'm working with, including my own, I'm coming to you from the Upper Similkameen. I'm just outside the community of Princeton. A 2,800 population in a resource community that has gone through a lot of transitions. And I have a daughter who is a liaison in the high school, and I have grandchildren in the elementary school. And my community, like many, have a fear of an event like you have happened in yours to happen in ours. And so the goal of our group is, as a nonprofit charity, we work with governments, we work across municipalities, we share information, we provide programs that many don't know about to communities and information provision. But the main bit of our work, and really what our focus is understanding the lived experience of rural and remote communities across our diverse geography and understanding the unique challenges that each individual community faces. Then utilizing that as being a qualitative data that we can put into policy and into research and into understanding more about how communities fall through gaps and how individuals within communities fall through gaps. And we have very much an edge first philosophy in that if you are geographically isolated, if you don't have resources available to you, that those are the communities, and even more significantly, the individuals within those communities who are living marginalized and on the edge of community, that supports are often missing or not in place. So I'm here to ask you for a couple of things, and again, I certainly appreciate the challenge of the timing of my request, but I think it's important because of where many communities find themselves today and how they feel that this event is not an isolated one and is a preventable one from making sure that we put systems in play that give people safety and security and the adequate resources they need within their community. So I know of many of the people who are in your community now after the event and providing services. I know the work of Foundry and the people who are on the ground providing mental health supports for youth and kids. I know the amazing work of groups like the RCC-BC, which is the Rural Coordination Centre of BC, which is the ducks basically. And I was in a room just a couple of weeks ago after the event with the members of the real-time virtual support players who provided assistance and triage and peer-to-peer support for those who were in the emergency room and the emergency responders coming into play from STARS and out of province. So I'm familiar with the trauma that's happened not only to you and your community, but to those players who are on the outside who are trying to provide assistance. And that is my purpose for being here, is that I want to be able to utilize your voice and your lived experience in our work in creating better health systems across rural and remote BC, and especially in the north. I work quite closely with a number of senior managers within the Northern Health Authority, including meeting on a quarterly basis with Chiro Pinessa, but I've built a working relationship with Vice President Kelly Gunn and with Steve Raper of Northern Health. But Kelly Gunn has family and friends in Tumbler, and it's a very personal thing for her. But she's also been an individual who was seconded by the ministry to create a rural health strategy. And that strategy was in part informed by my committee, which is we call our implementation committee, and we bring voices from all over BC, from municipal government, but also from nonprofits, from professional groups, from unions, from charities, from ministry workers to frontline social workers and the grassroots of community that are the majority of our membership. And that group listens and it creates solutions around positions. And Kelly Gunn was due to return to that committee 2 weeks ago to provide an update on the rural health strategy. The meeting got cancelled at the last minute because of reasons that are still being determined. But the good result of that was that the Minister of Health is meeting with me in the next couple of weeks. I have been invited to a table through Kelly Gunn to be a member of a collaborative with BC Children's Hospital and Northern Health in creating a framework around youth mental health supports and ensuring that we put in better systems in play across rural and remote. And my need is to be informed by the people who have been most impacted, and that is you and your community. And I'm hopeful that you will join us so that I can utilize your knowledge, in order to form a policy that isn't representing your community or you as a council, but it is inclusive of your experiences and how, we have failed your community and how we are still failing other communities across rural and remote BC. So I'm here to ask you if you would have interest in joining our network. We have a lot of other municipal members who are in the north. And I was just off a call just before I got on this one with Northern Rockies Regional Municipality and the challenges they're facing within their school system and health system. We have Dawson Creek, we have Pouce Coupé, we have Fraser Lake, we have Smithers and Terrace, we have Haida Gwaii in Masset, and we have members municipally across the province. The majority of our members are nonprofits working on the front lines in providing social supports. And membership, comes with a very minimal cost in that we charge $50, but I have no interest in the money. So it's not the money, it's your voice. And if you would be interested in joining, I'd be interested in providing you with that membership. And I'd be happy to come back and meet directly. I'm coming up to the north to Mackenzie on a mental health fireside chat in the fall. I would be most appreciative to come and visit you then, but I would also be happy to interact with any liaison that you may have in order to provide you some insights into how we can work together to improve health services, not only for you, but for all of the communities that are so much in need.
All right, well, thank you very much for giving us an overview of the organization and what you're looking for, what you're doing. Questions from council. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for coming in, Paul. I appreciate your words of condolences and thoughts, and offering us opportunity to another avenue to advocate for the needs of rural and remote and Tumbler Ridge specifically. One of the challenges that we have here is that we're seeing the results of the erosion of medical services across the board, right? Like, unfortunately, I wish there was a silver bullet about what we could say has led up to this event, but we've just lost everything. Like, we've lost mental health services, we've lost intervention tools, we've lost learning what warning signs are for individuals. And for me, our next concern is what this erosion of services in our emergency room is going to cost us in terms of lives at Tumbler Ridge. So I appreciate you reaching out, for giving us an opportunity to add our voice to yours, because realistically, we're seeing an erosion of medical services across the board, and we need to figure out how to get that back. And we also would need the province to remain vigilant, being here in our community for long term, not just 6 months. We need them here long term. We need to have mental health supports back in our community. We need to have those toolboxes of recognizing warning signs and early intervention, because that's always the key, is early intervention and education. So thanks for coming in. I personally, individually, would love to hear more about it. And thanks for reaching out.
So just a quick response in saying that, again, you have had incredible challenges, and the 24/7, 365 operation of an emergency room is, what an emergency room is. It's not a triage center. It's not, a daytime only service, and you're not alone. So again, that doesn't help you that you're not alone, but there are many communities from northern Vancouver Island in Port Hardy through to the Slocan Valley in the interior, who are all still dealing with temporary closures, which are not temporary because they've been in place now for, in some case, multiple years, if not decades or more. And when we went through regional centralization of services and the creation of health authorities, we lost that community input and that community governance and the ability to provide direct input in a meaningful way for many communities, and regaining that voice in healthcare is really what our role and purpose is. And I think that we are being, we're limited. We're like any other volunteer group. We have limited capacity, but we come forward not with a protest. We come forward with a solution, and we come forward with that solution being informed by the evidence of community experience. And that's what makes it meaningful to me, because again, I'm not representing my own community. I'm not representing your community. I am representing the common threads that I see throughout the province. And that low-hanging fruit and the ability to convey messaging that is going to impact so many by creating actual healthcare systems that are responsive and that are living, and they actually modify themselves based on the need of the community as resource. You've gone through this huge transition from a resource community to a diverse economy. And that work speaks for itself to the caliber of your community, but it still doesn't provide the gaps coverage that we need. And a lot of the pieces that we see on a daily basis have simply to do with logistical challenges in reaching care. And if you don't have transportation corridors and you don't have people coming and providing those services in a meaningful way within community from outside consistently, then people just fall through the gaps, and people are becoming more and more disenfranchised from not only their health system, but from their government and their experts. And so we're really working hard to try and bring that trust and that connection back. And again, I appreciate the ability to speak with you all today.
Thank you. Councillor Julik?
Yes, thanks, Paul. I would echo what Councillor Norbury said. I think that there's all those things that we struggle with. I'm glad you talked about the difference between the RBC, the doctor one, because I was confusing you both. Couple of questions. I'm just wondering if within your organization, if you ever have an opportunity to talk to young people. What I see often throughout, or what I hear from kids, is that lots of times they don't want to access these mental health services that they're able to for lots of different reasons. So I'm just hoping that somewhere in your organization you have the opportunity to talk to kids and get their viewpoint. And then the other question I would say is, around any not-for-profit can join your, like you can be an umbrella, so it doesn't necessarily just have to be the District of Tumbler Ridge. If there was a not-for-profit in our community that wanted to be part of your organization or support it, they're able to do that as well.
Yeah, so thank you for those questions. The youth piece is near and dear to my heart. As I said, I'm a grandpa, and I have, I have 3 kids, one who is just graduating nursing school as an RN and going into the healthcare field and going in with a lot of enthusiasm. And I also, unfortunately, see the other end of that equation with healthcare workers coming out of the healthcare field because of the challenges that they face in practice. So youth is a huge priority for me. I have created a position within our organization as a youth director, and I have a grade 12 student who has been in that role now. This is her 2nd year. Her name is Mia Peterson. She's a grade 12 homeschooled kid who is a foster kid and who has had a life experience of her own, and she lives, all of my directors live or work within rural community. So we all have very diverse perspectives and political backgrounds. We're nonpartisan, but we are quite political in the work we do because we use the system to create change. So Mia is my youth director. She has a full seat at the table. She is a voting member of the board, and she has come forward in light of the events of your community, to create a rural youth committee. So that committee is going to start coming into play over the next couple of months. I have a application in with the Vancouver Canucks for the Canucks for Kids Foundation to create funding for this work. And also that's going to be done in collaboration with the Foundry group. So Foundry BC and us are going to create this committee jointly. And we're also going to have not just a youth committee, but we're going to do rural engagement through that collaboration with Foundry across communities, and not just municipalities. We need to reach out to First Nations, but we need to reach out to unincorporated communities as well. So, you know, we've got these huge geographies with a regional district, which you have one representative and, you know, a multitude of smaller hamlets, and nobody's reaching those communities. So we're determined to change that. And we're going to bring the voice of those communities forward by going out and tapping into their knowledge. And, you know, I deal with a lot of researchers and professors and academics and politicians and bureaucrats. And they seem to have this feeling that there is a fatigue, interview fatigue or research fatigue out there. But, you know, the people we speak to never get contacted. So no one's ever asked them what they think. And so I get these incredibly lengthy, detailed conversations with people from community who really understand what's going on. And again, if you're not asking people the questions who are, you know, at the grassroots level providing service, how do you ever create policy that actually meets the need of those people? And the answer is, well, we don't. So our policy isn't reflective of the communities I live and work in, and they're not reflective of the needs of rural communities. So we're determined to bring that voice back, and youth voice is key to that. And to your question on membership, anybody is welcome to join our network. You know, if you live in rural BC or you live in downtown Vancouver, you're welcome to join, because we need both voices. We not only need the lived experience of our rural residents, but we need the understanding and the acknowledgement of people who live in Greater Vancouver and in large urban centres, that the equity is real. And not only is it going to impact us, but it's going to impact them, because eventually, you know, there's a result of impact to urban centres from the lack of care being provided in rural communities. So, you know, it's a big tent that we have, and it's a huge mandate, incredibly broad. We're not focused on one given subject. We're rural health. You know, that's not even rural health care. That's health, wellness, prevention, education, training. You know, I work with BCHS and Leanne Heppel, the chief ambulance officer, and, you know, bringing paramedic training into schools and providing actual training for local kids to give them a job straight out of high school to move into a health profession would go a long way to our recruitment and retention problems. But there's no funding for us, right? So it's always this balancing act of what we can do and how we do it. So the answer is youth, yes, high priority. Membership, all are welcome, and you can join online. You can send out the word. The bigger our voice, the more impact we're going to have on the political stage, both at the provincial level and federally, because we're now looking at the Canada Health Act and how reasonable access to care without financial barrier or burden, which is Section 12(1)A, is not being met, and that we need to actually take you know, some legal measures to ensure that our insurance policy is being provided, and it currently isn't.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from council? I have one. How long has the organization been in place?
So it started back in 2017 and was just a handful of nonprofits who were in the save our hospital mode. And, they were carrying the signs and trying to keep emergency rooms open. And I came on board 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, and that I've grown it from being, when I came in, there was 20 nonprofits, and now there's about 135 involved in the group, and we're growing continually, rapidly, and I get a lot of media attention. I'm being invited to those policy tables, which we don't actually usually get invited to. And so, and I'm working from a municipal perspective. Sarah's story, I just featured as Fraser Lake's mayor because she is VP at UBCM. She's on the health table, and she will be, likely to be the president of UBCM next year. So we will, we need to use the joint voices of organizations of municipal representation, but also ensuring that the frontline and the focus on health provision is being provided within that policy makeup. Groups like the Seniors Advocate of BC, I have a good relationship with Dan Levitt. We're trying to bring small-scale long-term care back into rural community. We're trying to create better at-home programming where it's not just reliant upon bringing those skills in from outside, but training those resources again in our schools and creating, an actual school to community work program in which we can get kids re-engaged with their elders and elders re-engaged with their kids, and keeping our community together and not separating families at the end of life.
Okay, thank you for that. And my one last question is, can you share any wins that you've had in the last 2 years?
So many wins that go unnoticed because it's not like, I solved the emergency rooms aren't closed anymore, but things like the on-call piece for the paramedics, that was informed a lot by my board of directors and Leanne Happel coming and speaking to us. I have retired paramedics on my board. I have active mayors on my board. I have people who are directly involved in all levels of healthcare provision, either in a retired, now retired, or in active roles within community. So, the wins come from that lived experience and being able to reach the right people in the right places. I would say that we had a lot to do with travel assistance and in Hope Air playing a bigger role in Canadian Cancer Society, providing more oncology programs, and the risk that, I'll tell you what happened with Hope Air, for example. I had a national media piece about a family who were in Fort Nelson, and they were resource-based, mom and dad. The wife got breast cancer. Thompson family was the name, and she needed treatment in Prince George. So 8 hours drive. They both had to quit their jobs because he had to be the care provider. They had to get babysitting services and help for the kids, and they had to do this extensive commute to Prince George with no assistance, and it cost them something like $25,000 for her to get to treatment, and plus they lost their income, so they had all of those expenses ongoing. I got that in the National Post, I think it was, and the lead of Hope Air phoned me up and said, I just read this article, and I wish I'd known about the Thompson family, Paul, because if I'd known about them, I would have helped them. And I said, well, I would, to be honest, Mark, and his name's Mark Rubenstein, he's the Chief Hope Officer of Hope Air, said, I wish I'd known about you, Mark, because I would have told the Thompson family and we would all be better off. And that started a relationship in which I started advocating for additional services and funding for the Hope Air team. And Hope Air worked with me to promote their services across rural and remote BC. So we increased their traffic by 200%, and their funding actually declined. So the disconnect between those two things becomes the problem, is that, once a program exists and is funded, we also have to make sure that it continues to get the funding and additional resources applied to it. And I think that's, again, a big concern in the austerity budget that we've just seen come out, is that where are these programs going to get funded, and are they going to be considered essential services because they're being provided by nonprofits? So we've done a lot of work in the social determinants in travel and transportation. We're doing a lot of work in long-term care and bringing it closer to home. We've been successful in several pieces, but I don't think that we can ever say that we're successful until we're all receiving reasonable access to care in a timely way, and that it's a high quality care with equity not being a dollar sign per capita, but being an outcome for each individual.
Perfect. I appreciate you sharing all those. Is there any other questions from council? I would just ask if you have any other information, just to send it to Ms. Scott, just so that we can circle this back into a council agenda.
I'm sorry.
So if you have any other information that you can just supply Ms. Scott, membership fees and all that stuff, if you could just supply that to Ms. Scott whenever you have an opportunity, so that we can get it brought back into another agenda.
I can do that. So would you like an information package broadly on the overall network, or?
Yeah, I think it just helps to get it back into another agenda for us to make, because we don't make decisions on delegation nights. If we have a delegation,
Okay.
we don't make a decision on it.
Great. I will pass that on to CAO, and we will go from there.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming in and sharing all the insight in regards to BC Rural Health Network. We appreciate it.
And we appreciate you, and thank you again.
Thank you. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That all items on the April 7th, 2026 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder. Councillor Julik. All in favor? Carried. Are there any items council like to bring forward for discussion? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. 7.3, City of Dawson Creek for discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Bertrand. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have the City of Dawson Creek with some great resolutions to NCLGA, and they're asking if we'd like to co-sponsor them, and which is greatly appreciated. So I'd like to move.
It's going to be too late to co-sponsor. It's past their timeline for the NCLGA. Just so you're aware. I know your motion you're going to make it. I think we can support it with letter of support and speak highly of it at the NCLGA, but it will be past the process. It's in their letter as well, that it would be past the thing for co-sponsoring.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I know that for now, there's myself and Councillor Noxana that will be attending NCLGA where we can support on behalf of council. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that we write a letter of support in regards to this resolution.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury, discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any other items council like to bring forward for discussion? Councillor Julik.
7.6, please.
Seconder, I'll second that. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Julik.
I know that we received this letter previously. I'm really glad it's in the agenda. I'm frustrated. Maybe doesn't cover it all for me. I think about what happened with this resident, and fortunately, this resident was able to maneuver through all of the things. My concern is the lack of follow-up with her. What if it had been a member of our community who was not able to do that? And when we're already frustrated with the state of the care in our community, then we're told, well, we're going to do this for you. So then we've got people who do the do the things and then they still are not successful. I could probably just go on my soapbox about this for a while. I'm super frustrated. I don't know if we as council can do something more. I know everybody within our community, like, I know that you, Mayor, have done a ton of stuff. I know that the healthcare task force works hard on our behalf. I feel like we're not being heard, and how do we escalate this on behalf of this resident and be grateful that this resident was able to find a solution, because it scares me what could have happened with a different resident.
Yeah, just before I go to Councilor Norbury, I'll just share with Council, I have also sent this off to Northern Health, even though that the resident has also done that, but I also sent it off to the Ministry of Health, as well as the Premier's office, and asking for them to not only reply to this resident, this British Columbian, but a resident of this community, and also respond to this council on how this is going to get fixed. This has been brought up multiple times through the EMCR table, through the EOC when it was activated in regards to this. This was brought there as well, looking for clarification on pickup sites, drop-off sites, times, all that. So I think we should see a response. I know it has been received by the Minister of Health. We received it directly from the Minister. I did hear from the Premier's office today that they have also received a letter. And that's directly from one of his ladies that work in the office. It's not the automated, thank you very much, we've received your email. It's directly from a text message that they have received it. So I would think we should see a response in a timely fashion. And not just us, but the resident. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor. You saved me from reading out a lengthy motion that I have on what we should be writing to the ministry and then Northern Health and what we should be demanding. But this is an obvious, absolute failure on Northern Health's part to this resident and to the residents of Tumbler Ridge. You know, they brought this service in to help us when we need to access health services, and then when somebody actually tries to access the health services, it fails them. Absolutely. I'm very happy that Miss Lou was able to, you know, she had the ability to pay for taxis, to rent a car, to get there. But I mean, I know myself, Mayor, Councilor Noxana, you know, others in this community have been outside of our community accessing life-saving care that have left us in a state where we are not able to get home ourselves. We need to rely on others. This person relied on the government, who said, this is here for you, and it absolutely failed them. The, you know, Northern Health and Ministry of Health needs to have an apology to this resident, and they should ultimately, honestly, they should be reimbursing her for her costs at bare minimum, because this is a cost she should not have had to take on. This is not a burden she should not have taken on. And as you can tell, I'm all riled up about it, because absolute failure. And I'm sure it has happened before, and it will happen again. This can't happen again. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor, for what little voice I have. I'm glad you guys started it. And Councilor Norbury, I have to disagree. I don't think it's going to happen again, because nobody's going to use the service. If you can't trust it, you're not getting up at 7 a.m. to take a ride to Fort St. John, to sit for hours, and to get a ride back. When I first heard about this, I was like, you know, okay, maybe it can work. But if somebody's committing essentially all their waking day to this trip, and then at the end of this process, they don't even have that ride back, I can't imagine how she felt that day. At a minimum, yeah, she should be reimbursed. That's their failure. And thank you, Mayor, for getting on it and having all that stuff already done, because this is beyond appalling given the other issues that we've had with Northern Health in very short order. What has it been, 6 months or so since emergency room, and now everything else along the way? No, I'm glad you guys, I don't have much, so I'm glad you guys were speaking to it, because I just don't think this can be let go. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other discussion from council? And I'll keep council apprised. I mean, my reply will end up in an agenda anyways, but I mean, I think the reply needs to go back to this resident. Took the time to send the email already from her side. I did have conversations right after the event with the resident and was trying to work on it, and I made a comment that she should write an email to all council, but I was already working on it with Northern Health. I mean, people were away obviously, but they need to reply to this resident, and you know, and then the government, Minister of Health needs to hold Northern Health accountable for the actions that were undertaken on this day. Stranding residents from this community in Fort St. John is what happened. So I will not let off this one, because it's important, and you know, council's brought it up, and you know, Ms. Lou was able to work through it on her own to be able to give back to the community. Others don't have, sometimes they don't have the financial capability to do the same thing. And there we are stranding somebody outside the community, and I shouldn't say I, or we, them, which is inappropriate. We've been told, I don't know how many times from Northern Health, in open meetings with the community, in meetings with council at and UBCM and other meetings, how they have this program when you leave Tumbler Ridge by ambulance due to no after-hours ER after 7 p.m. I'm thinking I'm hearing it's 5 p.m., but really and truly, Northern Health hasn't confirmed or denied what they're doing, which should be another problem we have. And then nothing on weekends, how, you can advise the hospital and they will have a taxi voucher. I'm not sure how many people are actually receiving these taxi vouchers, because if it's too late in the evening when you want to come home because you're being just let off out of the hospital, they're not available. So again, we're stranding residents outside the community in another community that they had to seek health care. Councillor Julie.
Yeah, and I guess for me too, I just had the opportunity to get to the Fort St. John Hospital, and it's not like central in Fort St. John. It's like way out. So it's not an easy process. It's not an inexpensive process, as we see with this resident here. And my frustration too, because I recall in our meeting with Northern Health after they first shut down the services here in the community, they were under the impression that we had a service in town that could commute folks. And they were quite confident when they talked about it, only to find out that you're misinformed. And so I'm really grateful that you have escalated it, and I'm glad you're not letting your foot off. And if you need somebody to scream with after a phone call or do some more letter writing, because this is unacceptable, just totally. And I know we're all passionate about it. I just, over and above, I got thinking about how far out Fort St. John Hospital is, even from the community, like the hub of Fort St. John, and it's not a small distance. And when I even think of this resident having a major knee injury, it's that much more difficult. And then if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, that's special accommodations again to even get a taxi, and then whether or not you're able to, just the pile on of all of this stuff. We can't say we have it and then not be able to supply it.
Agreed. Anything else from council in regards to this discussion? Okay. And are there any other items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Okay. Moving on to new business, Amendment 42 Marquee Rental Policy Review. Report dated April 7th, 2026 from the Manager of Recreation regarding Amendment 42-42. Oh my, Amendment 42- Marquee Rental Policy for Review. Take a recommendation, please. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that council adopts the amendments to the Admin 42 Marquee Rental Policy.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Julich. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Going to take a 5-minute break. Development variance permit application, 252 Peace River Crescent. Report dated April 7th, 2026, from the Director of Corporate Services regarding a development variance permit application for 252 Peace River Crescent. Recommendation, please. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. That council authorize the issuance of a development variance permit DVP number 2026-01 for the property located at 252 Peace River Crescent, legally described as Lot 36, District Lot 3164, Peace River District, Plan 29116, to vary the maximum permitted projection of a covered porch into the front setback to a maximum depth of 2.465 meters.
Seconder, Councilor Noxena. Discussion, Councilor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have an issue with the development variance permit, but I do have an issue with building and asking for forgiveness afterwards. From what I recall, this person was a previous district owner, so I'm shocked that there wasn't a development permit pulled. But by by issuing a development variance permit currently, question possibly for you or staff, do we have any plans for building inspection to ensure snow load?
Ms. Scott.
I will ask the Director of Protective Services if he can provide that information.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as per the report, yes, there will be a requirement for the individual to get a building permit, and that will also involve the inclusion of the building inspector. So all things, including snow load, to make sure that it meets code requirements, will be brought forward at that time.
Follow up.
Just another question is, how did we miss this before it was built?
Ms. Scott. So let's be honest. Was this not caught by bylaw or by our building inspector? I'm assuming that's the question that Councilor Bertrand's asked, because that's the one I want to know.
The building inspector doesn't, when he comes to town, he has specific files that he deals with. He doesn't necessarily drive around and look for a building that has happened without a permit. In terms of why our bylaw did not pick it up preemptively, I'll ask, when I'm done talking, I'll ask the Director of Protective Services if he has anything additional to add. I don't know that it had been there that long before the concern was brought to bylaw. But I will ask again, the Director of Protective Services if he has or can provide any additional information about the kind of proactive community inspections the bylaw officer may do.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mayor and Council, to Councilor Bertrand's question, bylaw does do active enforcement and patrols throughout the community. You would be surprised what can go up on a weekend. I'm not sure what the creation date was, if this was put up over a week period. I don't know the circumstances of what it was. It wasn't an overly complicated structure to build. The applicant has a family member who is a carpenter by trade, so this is something that likely was put together in very short order. I don't know the circumstances, like I said, about how quickly it went up or anything. I can just say that it was brought to our attention by concern from a resident. As per most things bylaw, it is a hybrid of complaint-based versus, or in addition to the active patrol. And this is what it was. It was the complaint-based or concern-based. It wasn't even a complaint. It was a concern registered with our office to say, did you know that this went up? I didn't see a building permit for it. Somebody was being proactive in the community. So on that note, we've seen other things appear in the community over the periods of weekends, from a shed going up to fences going up. And the bylaw officer does have the mandate to stop when he sees construction, especially when there's no permit that's displayed as per our building and plumbing bylaw, and investigate those things. Not everything does require a permit, but those things that do, even if it's just a a fence going up, he's going to stop and he's going to have a conversation with them to determine if the conversation was even had to have a permit.
Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm inclined to, give this issue of a variance. I mean, depending on who you talk to, everyone will tell you a different story about what can be done, what can't be done. I know when I built my fence, people told me you didn't need a building permit. So the first thing I did was I reached out to our local bylaw office to find out what the truth of the matter was and what needed to be done to make sure that I was in compliance. So I can easily see this being something that someone not understanding or kind of getting the wrong information out there, as there is quite a bit. So, I'm glad that this resident flagged this, and it can come through and go through the proper process, and it can be checked, because ultimately that's what we need to ensure, that it is safe, and there will be no negative impacts because of this. But we've given variances of this type of closeness to the road before, and I'm inclined to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Julich?
So I guess my question is there a penalty for this then? Because like I sometimes hitting people's pocketbooks is the way that we get the message out. You can't just do what you want or whatever, because I agree with Councillor Norbury. There's people think what they think. He was able to reach out knowing that there could be a difference there. Anyways, my question is there a penalty besides if we don't approve the variance that they have to rebuild or whatever? Is there like a ticket?
Ms. Scott?
That is a question, again, I'll ask the Director of Protective Services to provide the information for.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mayor and Council, to Councilor Julich's question, there isn't a penalty in the same way as like a monetary fine, unless we could do it under the zoning bylaw because it would be a projection into setback. The applicant, as soon as we brought it to their attention, was more than willing to go through the hoops and get a development variance permit. They paid their $300 even after it was all built and everything to try and correct, admitting that they missed a step, and they've been very compliant moving forward. There will be a requirement for them to get a building permit, which is also going to be a financial imposition to it. If council doesn't approve the development variance permit, all the applicant would have to do is shorten the projection into the setback. So there's already a 2 meter that's allowed. They just have to shorten it and bring it into compliance. They don't have to take the whole thing down. They just have to put it back as long as it complies with zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't get the impression there was any intent to deceive or mess with what the rules are here, which means if they're compliant and they're willing to and acknowledge the mistake, then they're correcting it. Like, I don't think we can really ask anything more. I don't have any issue with what I see before me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion by council? I don't have any issue in regards to supporting this development variance permit. One question I would ask, Ms. Scott, can you direct me within this report where I would find that it's a complaint-based driven concept for bylaw?
The information provided by the Director of Protective Services was that the bylaw officer does do patrols and it's complaint-based. It's a hybrid, but where that is in the report, it just talks about this was brought forward as a concern by a resident.
Okay, so do we have it somewhere on our website, which bylaws are complaint-driven and which ones are enforced? The reason I ask this is we come out this, and there's no disrespect to yourself or your staff. We constantly talk about complaint-based, but to me, it shouldn't be that it's complaint-based bylaws or whatever it may be. Council has established bylaws on recommendations from staff. To me, when we either approve those bylaws or amend those bylaws, to me, we're looking for them to be enforced bylaws. Not that we have to have our community members start putting in complaints about their neighbors or people that live on their street, whether that's unsightly or, again, this or that. So again, I just want clarification that I don't believe I've ever seen it where we have a list of what bylaws are complaint-based only and which ones are enforced by patrols.
They're all enforced by both patrols and complaint. They're not, one is specifically one or the other.
Okay. Just wanted clarity on that. Thank you. Any other discussion by council? Going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Appointment of acting corporate officer, report dated April 7th, 2026, from the chief administrative officer regarding appointment of acting corporate officer. Recommendation, please, Councillor Noxana.
The Chief Administrative Officer, Lisa Scott, be appointed as acting corporate officer for any period when the regular corporate officer is away from the office for an extended period.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Approval for travel expenses for Mayor Kukalka. Report dated April 7th, 2026, from the Executive Assistant to CAO, Mayor, and Council regarding approval for travel expenses for Mayor Kukalka. Recommendation, please, Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That council approve travel expenses for the mayor to attend scheduled ministerial meetings in Victoria, British Columbia from April 20th to 24th, 2026, and the cost to come from council's travel budget.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. Just going to make a couple comments. Working with Ms. Scott today, and staff did a great job. So I just wondered, I'll be honest, I asked for some airfares to be booked in a hotel, didn't really get the cost. And then when I seen the cost for accommodations for 4 nights at $3,317, I did ask Ms. Scott, was that just approximate? We just had a number that, no, those were actuals. So I did ask staff to look for a different hotel that would be more sufficient. That cuts the budget in about half for accommodations. So the hotel was based, and I can't remember the term that staff used, but there was different nights were higher charged than certain nights. So I'm actually moving hotels. Average is going to be about $345 instead of, one night $700, one night's $899. It was a little much for taxpayers to be paying $3,317 for 4 nights. Any discussion? Councillor Bertrand.
So do we need to adjust the accommodation amount then in this report, or what do we need to do there?
No, it'll be, so I mean, obviously, it's an estimated cost of total is $5,809, so the actual cost will come once I've returned to the community, which obviously the hotel costs will come down. It's only the amount that I spend will be what comes out of the council budget, not what's estimated here for cost. Correct, Ms. Scott?
Yeah, the motion doesn't include any dollar figures, so nothing needs to be amended.
Thanks. And just to update council, so there's a couple different scenarios here. The PRD will also be in Victoria, or sorry, the chair for sure, the CAO from the PRD will also be in Victoria, having meetings from the PRD side that I'll be attending as a director on behalf of the district of Tumbler Ridge. And I've already, again, set up my own meetings for the community, which is the Premier, EB, Ministry of Health, Minister of Infrastructure, Minister of Education, and just waiting to hear back from the Minister of Forest and Walrus. And Walrus would be in regards to Community Falls Outlook. So just so council knows kind of what is scheduled for there. It's full days. Okay, any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Schedule of meetings, there was a handout, there was a computer glitch, so there was a handout on the desk with the calendar. Anything from council side? Councilor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious about budget meetings. I had in my calendar the 14th. Is that a no-go at this time, or when is our next budget meeting?
Ms. Scott?
Yes, thank you. I had flagged to raise that council has committed to a budget meeting on April 14th at 5 p.m.
Yep, thought so. Thank you. Anything else, Councilor Bertrand?
Nope, that's all. Thanks.
Anything else from council? Okay, couple things. I know that council schedules are full, but we need to try and get some other budget meetings. We've been trying. And it's, as we try to flush it out, it's not working to be successful. If maybe, I think to make it easier on staff, if council can send in their schedule to myself, I can kind of go through it, pick out the dates that everybody is here. I would hope that we can do it for the next 3 weeks, all the way up into the 9th of May, including weekends. I think it may be something we may have to start looking at as we try to get this process moving. One, for staff, to be able to make the changes or add-ons or whatever it may be, so that it helps them process that budget on behalf of council so that we can get it in for readings. But I do understand that, everybody does have commitments, but we need to try and flesh out when we can actually have budget meetings. And then there's also a workshop that I know staff has been working hard to try and schedule. So I think if we flesh out what we're available, we may be able to try to also set up that workshop so that that can be added into our schedule so that it can be gone through in regards to the workshop. I do know I didn't get a chance to touch base with Ms. Scott later this afternoon. That workshop does include that planning employee that was talked about. I think that needs to be fleshed out so that we know what the direction of council is on that workshop, and then how that will be added or not added. Councilor Norbury, then Councilor Noxana.
Thank you, Mayor. Wouldn't it be prudent? We're kind of getting to the crunch time. Like we've all committed to Mondays. Why don't we start having our budget meeting first? Start pounding away some of this budget. I can't see anything that takes more precedent than us being able to pass our budget so we can collect taxes this year. If we're coming down to that, just a suggestion.
Yeah, and I have looked at that, talked that with Ms. Scott too, but there's other things that have to also be kept moving forward from council side. Again, I'm not putting this just on council. I believe we should have started budget meetings in January. I know the contractor that had been hired by the municipality was working through things, so now we're in the crunch time. So I think if we get schedules, if we have to just do it on the Mondays and cancel all meetings, but the same aspect, I think we need to try to, if we send in the calendars from each councillor, it kind of opens it up on where we can fit them in instead of Ms. Scott working out a date. We send it out, everybody's available, but not this time or that time. I think if we just have schedules in front of us, we can pick these 3 days' work, whether that's budget, the workshop, and another budget. I think the process will just help. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I don't have anything on budget meetings, but on April 22nd, Canuma and Trora have partnered to do their roadside cleanup between Quintet and the Tumbler Ridge welcome sign. If anybody wants to participate, they can reach out to Trora for more details and to sign up.
Okay, I believe that is the also ribbon cutting of the Geointerpret Center this night, I believe. So I won't be here. But again, if everybody can just send a calendar, I understand, again, people are busy, but we need to try and figure out scheduling for the workshop and budget meetings. Ms. Scott, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, council have anything else in regards to schedules? Okay. Any notice of motion? Okay. I don't. Ms. Scott, when we had a delegation earlier tonight, and that would have been the Tumbler Ridge Mountain Bike Association, we talked highly about the grant writer and such. I know that last year it was told to council that we did not have enough, the grant writers didn't have enough to flush out the whole year due to the hours submitted in regards to grant writing for not-for-profit and others within the community. Is there a report coming, or would you rather a notice of motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I should turn you on.
I believe the operating budget for economic development did include some additional budget for grant writers, but I will need to check into that.
Okay, so I've seen there is an increase in the budget, but we can just deal with it in a budget if it's not enough from staff side?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, councilors' business. First, thank Councilor Norbury and Councilor Noxana for submitting their liaison reports. Again, I am going to make it known that please, if you can submit them, there's things happening within the community that we are, as council, not being updated. Yes, I know we can ask the council that's got the position of the liaison the questions, but if we don't know what's being talked about, it's hard to make up the questions. So if we can submit those, it would help. It keeps everybody up on what's going on with those organizations. Okay, councillor, business from the floor. Okay. I want to take a few minutes to talk about Craft Hockeyville. First, I want to take an opportunity to thank the committee. There was some Ms. Scott staff members that were part of the committee. Am I allowed to mention their names, Ms. Scott, or is that wrong?
You can mention names.
Okay.
would hate to miss somebody, but yes, you can mention.
Well, hopefully we won't miss anybody. I think it's important for everybody to realize it, not just the community, but council. So we had Director of Public Works on it, Jason Bradley. We had our ECDev, Jesse Olson. We had Joy McKay, manager at the community center, as well as Monica Pittman, manager from the community center. We had Jen Miller and Chrissy Irving, and then we also had the Public Works manager, Zeb Irving, on this committee. And I'll tell you, to get a group of people together like they did there, and I believe this community as a whole, 10 days of Craft Hockeyville events, seeing what can be pulled together, and I think they did an amazing job and worked tireless hours in my eyes. I mean, people were going home and from this committee side and doing work from their house. They volunteered their time. All the committee members got together and helped blow up balloons and tie balloons, and I'll be honest, I think we tied 5,000 balloons in one night in a couple of hours. Councillor Noxena was there and tying balloons, so I just want to say a great job by Ms. Scott's staff and the residents that came on the committee, but residents as a whole, what a great thing to see, especially on Friday and Saturday with the ball hockey downtown and watching the excitement of our children and youth and everybody coming together. But then again on Saturday as well at the rec center at the arena floor. It was a job well done by this whole community. Having some guests come into the community, Andrew Ferentz from the Oilers alumni and Chris Higgins from the Vancouver Canucks alumni. We also had Teresa, the person that nominated us, drive up from Vancouver Island. It was just amazing to see the excitement. And I've done multiple interviews, and to me, I'll say it in front of council, not only are we winners from the night of Craft Hockeyville, but we were winners before Craft Hockeyville. This community as a whole has always been the winners, and to me, we won, and I know sometimes it's tough when we don't see that we got the big prize and the preseason NHL game. But again, I think this community 100% is winners, and we were winners way before Craft Hockeyville as a nomination, but during the process. I've sat in this town hall probably for now 2.5 months or whatever it's been. To be honest, don't remember how many months. We talk about a committee that got together for Craft Hockeyville, but I'll tell you the staff in town hall in general, or other agencies that work in other facilities around the community that have to come together to work through with EMCR and other things that they're working off the side of their desk, have done an amazing job in this community, or for this community in the last 2.5 months, I believe it's been. I mean, I'll be honest, I'd have to look at a calendar. It is outstanding, and I think council needs to understand that, but so do our residents. When we have people staying late, coming in on weekends to finish things up, it's important that we, thank Ms. Scott's staff and the leadership that she's driving there and assisting her staff. It's been important to see since I've been in the town hall. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Soto First Nations, because we had their drummers and their dancers come up on Saturday, and it's such a great thing to see our First Nation neighbors wanting to come to the community to help celebrate. So. Again, job well done not only by Ms. Scott's staff and the volunteers from minor hockey, but this community as a whole did an outstanding job in regards to coming together, being there for each other. It was quite amazing to see. Just different drive compared to a few months ago within our community. I think it gave our youth and our children something to drive for, and I think it was well noticed. So. Thank Teresa for that for sure, and all the staff and volunteers that assisted that process. Ms. Scott, any questions or answers, or questions emailed in? Not sure if you'd have the answer, but you might have questions. Okay. Take a resolution to a close, please. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That the April 7th, 2026 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to Section 91E and J of the Community Charter to permit discussions about E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, and J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Seconder. Councilor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. 5-minute recess.